Om Sahana Vavatu Sahano Bhunaktu Sah Viryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma Vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om Satchidananda Rupaya Vishwotpatyadi Hetave Tapatraya Vinashaya Shri Krishnaya Vayam Namaha. समस्तजनकल्याणे निरतं करुणामयं नमामि चिन्मयं देवं सद्गुरुं ब्रह्मविद्वरम्। Hari Om, salutations to all. Welcome back to the satsangs on Srimad Bhagavatam. We were doing the fifth canto. In that, we saw about the life of Rishabh Ji and then his son Bharat Raja, how Bharat Raja became attached to the deer in the last few months of his life, and he died remembering the deer. The deer went away, but he died in the pangs of separation from the deer. Next life, he became a deer, but he remembered, because of his earlier sadhana, he remembered that who he was and how he became this deer and what attachment did to him. So when he dropped the body of the deer, he was again born as a human. See, that itself is a proof that it's not that always one has to go through 84 lakh species to come to human birth. That's the first human birth is after 84 lakh species. But after that, it depends on the karma. So he was a sadhak mainly, and he was trying to realize the truth. He had renounced the kingdom, etc. after he ruled it for quite a long time. He ruled it very gloriously. Our country is named after him. Then he renounced. So he was a seeker. He became detached. He was a seeker, and then suddenly he got attached to that deer. So that one attachment made him take birth again as a deer. But when that attachment, when that karma got exhausted, then he's again born as a human. But this time in the human life, what does he do? He lives completely unattached to anything. Doesn't mingle much with people also. But he was strong, robust, and so the prasang comes of this King Rahugana. And the Rahugana, he was going in a palki to the ashram of Kapil Muni to gain knowledge. One of the palki bearers was not there, and the attendants, they found Jada Bharat. So they immediately took him, and he also accepted it, and he was lifting the palki of the king. As they were going, he would find some small ants and creatures on the ground, so he would not want to step on them and kill them consciously, so he would jump around here there to avoid the killing of these small insects. Now the palki would shake, the balance would be disturbed, and so the king got very upset. And this king, we saw in this 10th chapter of this 5th canto, the king, once or twice he said that why lift it properly and all that, but Jada Bharat was not responding, and he continued. So the king got angry, and he said that you must be fatigued. He told sarcastically, you must be fatigued from carrying the palki alone for so long and for so far. You must be old, unhealthy, without strong limbs. Are your fellow carriers not cooperating with you? So he taunted. And Jad Bharat, he did not respond to these taunts. So the king got more angry. And then the king says that, are you dead despite life being within your body? And don't you know that I am your master? You are mad, for this disobedience I shall punish you. So the king, he got really angry and he was saying all this because he has that body identification and he is not very that way spiritually evolved, and little things upset him. So here we see that Jada Bharat is Bhagwan's devotee and very highly evolved person. Actually, he doesn't need to respond. He doesn't need to reply at all. But he still replies to Rahugana for two reasons. One is he is going to get knowledge from Kapil Muni, so his mind should have humility. And right now he is in the state of arrogance. So he will not get that knowledge. Even if Kapil Muni gives him something, he won't be able to absorb. Second thing is, it is his nature. The nature of Jada Bharat is an evolved soul. And so he lives in a state which is beyond body identification. So he doesn't feel I am doing something lesser and I am only a palki bearer and he is the king. And the king is having that pride. So that pride has to be removed. If we have to gain self knowledge, there has to be humility. So he gives him knowledge of Vedanta also. So both, one is to give knowledge of Vedanta, one is to make him humble, make him realize the illusoriness of the world. All that you will see that it comes now as we go ahead. So Jada Bharat replies, then when these three things he says, you are dead in spite of having life and you don't know that I'm your master and you are mad. So Jada Bharat replies for all the three. He's saying, are you dead in spite of having life in the body? He says, everything around is like that. It's all Jadavastu, it's all inert. Except consciousness, nothing else is. Everything else is Jadavastu only, it is inert. And he says that I am not fatigued by carrying this palki because I am not the body at all. You may tell anything. Body may be tall, dark, young, handsome, old, weak, strong, but none of those apply to me. And when he says that I am the master, Jada says, today you are a king, I am in this situation. These are functional roles that we are playing. But who is the master and who is the servant? That is all dependent in the hands of the Lord. Any moment, anything can happen and things will change. Things can change. So, really, who is the master? Who is the servant? We all are actually the servants of Bhagwan, and he is alone the true master. Then he says that, I will punish you. So, Jada Bharat's attitude is that if you punish me, you said I am a mad person. So, even if you punish me, it will be like beating a dead horse or like grinding flour, or the punishment does not cure madness. Now, Rahugana, he had not expected this to happen. That for each taunt of his and question of his, Jada Bharat gave proper replies, and actually it came as a wake up call to this king. And the king suddenly realized that, oh, he is not like any other just palki bearer or some ordinary person. He is a great Mahatma here. And so he falls at the feet of this Jada Bharat. So he gives up his pride as a king, fell flat at the feet of Jada Bharat, begging for forgiveness. And he says that, who are you? You are moving about in this world unknown to others. Are you a learned Brahmana? Are you like Dattatreya Bhagwan? Whose disciple are you? Where do you live? You have come here for benefiting us. Are you Kapil Muni himself? Are you Narayana? Who are you? And then he says that, that I am not afraid of Indra's thunderbolt, Shiva's trident, Yamraj's punishment, or fire, or scorching sun, the moon, the wind, or Kubera's weapons. But I am afraid of offending the Brahmanas. Now he realizes that he has offended him. And with what arrogance he spoke, and Jada Bharat didn't have any arrogance. He replied very without taking anything personally. He replied, gave him a wake up call. So in the world, it is always going to be like this. The wise person is one who has the experience of the truth, and so the mind is full of that experience, and the mind is reveling in that state. So they may be silent, they may be humble, they may not even come out much in the open, or sometimes they may come out also and they share this knowledge, but they have no uh, vanity and pride and all that inside. That is all gone. But those who don't have this experience, they make a lot of noise. It's like empty vessels make a lot of noise. It's like that. They may insult, they may criticize, they may condemn, they may do anything. But the realized person does not get affected by it. That's the glory of that state of realization also. And that is what serves as the wake up call to the ignorant ones. If the realized person, we see in the Gita, etc., it comes, na, Dukkheshu anudvignamanaha, Sukheshu vigatasprahaha, Vita raga bhaya krodha, Sthitadhir muni ruchyate. In the heaviest of tragedies, their mind is not disturbed. In the most glorious success, their mind is not very elated. Why? Because free from attachment, raga. If raga is gone, then bhaya krodha also gone. Vita raga bhaya krodha. And their wisdom is firmly established. Titadhir muni ruchyate. That person is a muni. So even if somebody criticizes, we get affected. Swamiji, I didn't even do this, and yet they are saying all this about me. Then that means our ego is still strong, it's very powerful. Functionally, for a role, we have to clarify, no, I have not done this or I have done this, that's a different matter, but we get psychologically affected. This King Rahugana, he was taunting, criticizing, getting angry. That is his action. But the response of Jada Bharat is in his control. We generally allow the circumstances, the people to overwhelm us, and our response is actually not even a response, it's a reaction that we give. Jada Bharat did not have reactions. He had a nice response to give, and that is what made Rahugana understand that, oh, here is somebody who is evolved, and this is not out of some calculativeness that Jada Bharat had, that I need to impress the king or giving a wake up call. There is compassion. He would have kept quiet otherwise. There was no need for him to speak. Maybe he would have continued to take the palki and tried ensure that the palki doesn't lose the balance. The king would have lost a great opportunity. Out of compassion, he wants nothing from the king. Out of compassion, he spoke all this, and king also understood that, because the tone in which one speaks, the words which one uses, the logic which one has given, body language, feeling behind it, the motive, all that made it very clear to the king that here is somebody who is a Mahatma. And so he says here that I am Jada. King Rahugana accepts that I am Jada, and I don't know. I am very attached. I have material attachments, but you are free from all attachments, full of knowledge. You are powerful. Then why are you wandering like a dull person here? I am unable to understand. Please explain to me. You are the master of yoga, so please tell me, what is the most secure shelter in this world? See, the king is asking that. What is the most secure shelter in this world? And are you wandering in this world to examine people? Like a king goes sometimes in disguise to see what the praja is doing and how the law and order situation is. A king may go in disguise. So that way, these Mahatmas also are moving around in this world – to examine the people. So how can grahasthas or even people who are attached ever understand the Mahatmas like you? They are in that as though they are in a disguise type, they're not showing their greatness. They're just moving around quietly, just like a common man mixed with all of them. And so Rahugana inquires. Now, when Jada Bharat has replied to him about illusoriness of the world, everything is inert and positions are only temporary and punishment will not cure madness and all that. So in this 10th chapter, he asks some questions. So he says, that the soul appears fatigued, the soul is different from the body. Soul appears to be fatigued due to the bodily labor. So he gives an analogy. We had seen, I'm just doing a recap because 3.5 months, almost 3 months, we had not had the satsang. So he gives this analogy, there's a water in the pot. There's a pot in which there's water and then there is rice. Now, if you heat that pot, the heat will touch the pot, no doubt. But what will get cooked inside? That will be the rice, milk, whatever is inside, that will become hot, it will get cooked, it will get boiled. So, the analogy he says is in the body is the Atma. Now, whatever body will go through, it will affect the Atma. So, that's the analogy. Similarly, due to bodily pains and pleasure, senses and the mind, the soul is affected. So, that's one question that he has. Then, he says that the position of the king is temporary, but I have to do the duty. One of the duties of the king, we saw in the 4th canto also, it comes, Prithu Raja. One of the duties, dharma has to be established, dharma has to be protected, preserved, encouraged, and adharma has to be destroyed. So if somebody doing anything wrong, punishment has to be given. So he says that if one is engaging in duty as per one's dharma and rajadharma, then that is not a waste. That is what Bhagavan wants, and that is the king's duty also. And so, why are you saying that the punishments will not make any difference? Then he says that I have offended you because I was filled with kingly pride. So you please forgive me, have mercy on me, and I should be relieved of the sin of neglecting the devotee. Now, he says that if one engages in the duties, what will happen? All the sins, if one does what is one's duty as a king, as a whatever the roles he's playing, then all the uh, karmas will also get exhausted, negative tendencies will also get purified. So he says that engaging in one's swadharma, that will destroy all the sins. um, so I am doing what is the duty of a king. So please guide me on this. Because he said punishment will not make any difference. How will the madness get cured and all that? Now, when Jada Bharat was asked these questions, then we see in the 11th chapter he gives the whole description about the how the people who are akovidaha, those who are inexperienced, they don't understand the words of the Kovid. Kovida Vada Vadan, they don't understand the words of the experienced people. And so the mind has to be purified because otherwise the words one may even intellectually understand, but one will not be able to intuitively experience. And so here, what has to be done? So he explains that Vedas speak about the absolute truth. The purpose of the Vedas is to make the jiva realize one's absolute nature. So that alone is the truth. And those who are karmakandis, those who are stuck in the other aspects of the Veda, they generally don't speak about this. The rituals, the upasanas and other things whichever are given, the duties, etc. of a householder, of a Brahmana, Kshatriya, Vaishya, Shudra, all that which is given, Varnashrama Dharma, is meant for purifying the mind to realize the truth. But people interested in material activities are inclined towards material sacrifices expounded in the Vedas. They don't talk about the absolute truth at all. And those who are contemplating, what do they think? For the one who realizes that material happiness is insignificant like a dream, the Vedas become insufficient means for understanding the highest truth, meaning the ritual portion alone. That is not sufficient to know the highest truth. That will give some material happiness, but if a person's vivek has been awakened, one has understood that, oh, this is all illusory, this is not real, and no matter how much hard we work and we get our desires fulfilled, we feel happy for some time, then again there's a chase which starts, again we get something, we feel temporarily satisfied, again we start chasing something else. And nothing remains except a few memories, nothing remains tangibly in our hands. Our body itself is changing, things around are changing, people change, they come, they go, things come, they go. It is absolutely, if we think about it, looks like a dream. That okay, this is what happened in the past and this is how I lived, this is what I went through. It's over. It's like a memory, just a memory in the mind what one can recall. But there's nothing concrete, tangible left. So one who thinks carefully, does the vivek, understands that this is illusory, then the attachment to karma and then to get the material things and then even to go to heaven and those kind of desires to experience subtler pleasures, all that goes. Then why do the people engage in material happiness even if they meet such Mahatmas who have realized the illusoriness of the world and who give them Upadesh also? So he goes ahead to say that, this mind is the cause of bondage, mind is the cause of the enemy, of the mind is the best friend and mind is the worst enemy. It is the cause of bondage and liberation, both. But the mind which is attached, that's the cause of bondage. So he gives some of the characteristics, mind is vasanatma, so endowed with the impressions, positive, negative, punya, papa, sattvic, rajasic, tamasic, all types of vasanas are there. And then is vishaya uparaktaha, is attached to material sense objects. Guna pravaha, it is influenced by the flow of the three gunas, the mixture or combination of three gunas. Then it is vikritaha, it's subject to various vikritis, perversions, specifically lust and anger. Then Shodashatma, it is chief amongst the 16 elements. Then cause of the different types of bodies in the higher and lower positions. So what are 16 elements means? 5 elements, 5 senses of knowledge, 5 senses of action, and the mind. So 16. Then it is a covering on the jiva made by Maya. Then deceives the jiva into the cycle of repeated birth and death. Creates unavoidable distress, happiness, illusion over the course of time. So this mind is what? Simply understand, it's not the mind by itself, it's attachment, identification with the mind that I am this mind, so I am the jiva where I have forgotten who am I truly. Now that ignorance in this mind makes the mind deluded, attached, and then one is caught in the cycle of birth and death. So thus the mind is a cause of bodily appearance, bondage and liberation. Very clearly he says that. And he goes ahead to explain that functions of the mind, that how the 5 senses work and how the inputs are taken and how the thoughts are formed. And in that, how we identify that I. Otherwise, senses interact with the sense objects, thoughts coming in the mind, feelings arising, that goes on. That's as per Prakriti. It is like using any equipment, phone, computer, car, anything, television, whatever. It is like that we use equipment like that. The equipment is there. This BMI is an equipment. But I identify with it, saying I am this. Now then that is the cause of bondage. So this mind goes through unlimited transformations. The dravya, swabhava, ashaya, culture, destinies, karma, kala, these are all the material causes for this mind. And they affect the mind, they agitate the mind also. But the Atma or the Kshetrajna or the Sakshi is completely different from all these. So this is in reply to that question that Rahugana had asked of that milk and water in the pot. So in that analogy, the fire will affect it will make the pot hot, and that heat will transfer to the milk or to the rice and whatever is being cooked inside. Because all of them are of the same level of reality. They all are inert things and they all are gross. But here, the body, mind, intellect are gross. Atma is subtler than that, and Atma is unaffected by it. It is completely aloof. It is only an enlivening factor. BMI can't touch the Atma. Nothing will happen to the Atma if anything happens to BMI. So, this Jiva who has realized this, that I am this Kshetrajna, I am this Parabrahma Tattva, I am not this body, mind, intellect. That is a Jivan Mukta. So, this Jivan Mukta can very clearly see that the mind is a modification of five elements. It is made up of Maya. It is there from beginningless time. And it manifests, it becomes unmanifest. But I am completely different from all these. And so the Jivan Mukta, the characteristics of that person were then given. And the Jivan Mukta is actually one with the Lord. From Bhakti language, we say is one with Bhagavan. And so all pervading cause of the creation, the unrestricted controller, the Purana, the most ancient one, and self-effulgent, beyond birth and death, Paresha, controller of all the devatas also, Narayana is the very abode of surrender for all the devotees, full of all opulences, six opulences, Aishwarya, Vidya, Yasa, Shri, Vairagya, Moksha. These are six opulences or Bhaga. That's why it's called Bhagavan. Vasudeva, the resting place of every Jiva, present in the hearts of all the living entities. Now, these are all the qualities of that realized soul. And the query of Rahugana is one query has been answered that way, that the soul appears fatigued because of this association with the BMI. Then he says, no, it doesn't. And what fatigue and what refreshment? Soul is beyond all that. Mind goes through all those things, so he makes it clear the distinction between the mind and the uh, soul, the Jivatma or the mind, and the infinite consciousness or the Kshetrajna makes that distinction. See, in that time what happened is applicable even today. So many people have confusion about this. Same question is there or not. One thinks that the person died, the soul goes from one body to another body, and the soul is affected. What goes is Jivatma. What is getting affected in the body also was the Jivatma. And who is that Jivatma? That infinite consciousness only identifying with one BMI feels itself as the Jivatma. But it is not Jivatma. It is infinite. That's why he's saying here, all pervading cause of creation, unrestricted controller, Purushaha, Puranaha, most ancient. That is what one has to realize, and that is completely untouched by anything that happens to the BMI. It doesn't go anywhere, doesn't come anywhere. That's why it's saying all pervading. What is all pervading? How it will go anywhere and come anywhere? But that false notion makes it identify with only one, and then there is transmigration, going from one body to another. If one stops that attachment and says, I am not the body, mind, intellect, bas, that one realizes I am the Kshetrajna Atma, then there is no transmigration because there is no birth and death only. Where the question of transmigration? Atma is not born, Atma doesn't die. What transmigration will happen to this Atma? Just imagine the context and think how fortunate is this King Rahugana that a palki bearer is giving him this knowledge. He has not yet reached the ashram of Kapil Muni. On the way only this palki bearer is there and he got this knowledge. Some punya he must have done definitely to deserve this. But the point is, if you see in our culture, Brahmagyan is not given in a specific context and a setting only, that only in a forest where some Mahatma Ji is living, there the disciple goes, surrenders, stays them with the Mahatma in the Gurukul and then gets the knowledge. That is only one possibility. In the battlefield, Krishna Bhagavan gave it to Arjuna. Here in this Palaki context, he is being given that knowledge. So people are given this any time where one finds somebody deserving, the Mahatma out of compassion may give. So here it is King Rahugana, he gets this. And how long does it take for the Jiva to wander in samsara? Actually, however long the Jiva only wants it. It is a decision of the Jiva. If the Jiva feels that I want to enjoy more and more and more and more desires are there, attachments are there, that much it will wander. If the Jiva feels that no, I don't, I have had enough, it will stop. So here he says, he answers saying that when the Jiva is freed from material contamination and conquers the six enemies, Kama, Krodha, Lobha, Moha, Mada, Matsarya, then through Brahma Gyan, self-knowledge, one becomes realized. So it's like a movie, sometimes we pay whatever, we buy the ticket and go into the theater. However, see that choice is there with us. We have paid the money, we have gone into the theater to watch the movie. If the movie is pathetic, some people may say, enough now, what is nonsense going on here? So they leave. Some people won't leave, saying, no, I have paid this much money, I want to see, I will sit and watch. Now that is one's choice. If one has seen the world enough, one says, there is no interest here, there is nothing much here. And our fulfillment is the state we strive for. Then one will get out of the cycle of birth and death. In spite of living in the samsara, getting beaten up also and figuring out how temporary it is, one still doesn't want to leave that. Okay, then take much more time, it's one's choice. So, this mind has to be controlled. Now, how to control this mind? So, a few strategies were given. Neglect it. Upekshaya. Neglect means what? Not every thought of the mind we have to act upon. Some thoughts, they come, they go, just neglect them, which are unconducive to spiritual sadhana. Don't say, Swamiji, I neglect. Every day my thought says that do japa in the morning, I neglect it. Don't neglect that. The thoughts which increase our attachment, those have to be neglected. Then apramattaha, be attentive and don't postpone, procrastinate, be attentive, be alert. Don't allow the ego to rise. That is alertness. And don't procrastinate the sadhanas. Generally, our mind postpones. Everything else will come, everything else will be done, sadhana will come last. First thing to do is a sadhana. To develop alertness every morning, as soon as one wakes up, the sadhana time starts from then. And before one gets into some real concrete type of duty, work, etc., one should finish one's whatever sadhana one is doing, upasana, japa, puja, whatever it is, meditation. because that sets the tone for the day also and makes us alert and aware ki what is the goal of my life, what do I want to really achieve. And ego, one will be able to put in check, because when I started the day with that type of a spiritual samskar where one tunes the mind ki how one's day should be by surrendering to the divine, living as the instrument of the divine. Whatever I'm going to do today is offered to Bhagwan. With that kind of a bhavana one lives, then mind is controlled also through service to the Guru and to Bhagwan. Guru or Haresh Charana Upasana Astrataha. The weapon is this, to serve the lotus feet of the Guru or the Lord. Now, till this is what we had done. Chapter 11. So, now in chapter 12, what happens? Rahugana, he offers his respect to Jada Bharat. See, when he said about the position of the king, etc., in that, yes, there is a position of the king and one has to do the duties, no doubt. But was the king doing it as a duty or was he doing it out of his pride? There's a difference. To do the duty of that particular position in a functional way and what is appropriate has to be done is a different matter, and that has to get done. So if somebody has done something wrong, one has to punish, one has to punish. One can do it with great sense of ego and power, and I'm giving punishment to this person and this person is going to suffer and all that. Some psychological brooding through that one does, or one does it as a matter of fact because it has to be done, it's a duty. One may not even like it because the compassion in the heart will say, "Arey, why this person has to be given this punishment?" But now it's a duty has to be done, so one has to do it. So that again is a play of the mind, how one does the duty. So those questions he has answered, uh, and King Bharat, Raja Bharat, Jad Bharat will also refute that further. Also, it will come in this uh, chapter. Also, in seventh shloka, it will come. So two questions he had asked. One is about that milk and the soul getting affected, and the second one was this about the duty. So first one he answered by explaining the nature of the Atma is so different and so it doesn't get affected, and whoever has realized it, that is a Jivan Mukta. And then how to realize, control the mind and all. How to control the mind is Upeksha and Seva and alertness, Apramatta, all that he said. Now in this chapter, when it begins, Rahugana, he thanks Jada Bharat, and for him, for Rahugana, he thinks of Jada Bharat as Bhagavan only. So he says, you have an eternal form like the Lord's. You know, that is a form. Namo Namah Karana Vigrahaya. Swarupa Tucci Krita Vigrahaya. Namo Vadhuta Dijabandhu Linga Nigudha Nityanubhavaya Tubhyam. So he says that. Salutations to you. You have taken this godlike form. You have ignored your body in the bliss of realization. You are the master of yoga. You have concealed your realization of the eternal truth under the garb of an unworthy Brahmana as though. And he says, I am exact opposite of this. What? Jvara Maryart Jvara Jvara Mayartasya Yathagadam Sannidad Sannida Sannidadhag. What is this terrific tongue twister? This is Sannidagha Dagdhasya Sannidagha Dagdhasya Yatha Himambha Kudehinam Kudehamanam Kudehamana. He says, I am Kudeha. He is beyond Deha. Rahugana is beyond Deha. Sorry. The Jada Bharat is beyond Deha, and Rahugana says, I am Kudeha. Kudehamana hi vidrishta drishtehe brahman vachaste mritam aushadham me. He says, I am kudeha, full of attachment to the body, and this body is filled with dirty things. I feel I am this body, and this vision has been bitten by this serpent of pride. So I have body identification, I have false ego. Manahi vidaste drishte. So your words are himambaha. Your words are like this cooling waters for the one who is scorched by this heat. And jwaramayartasya yathagadam. The one who has jwara, fever. Your words are like the medicine and they are like the nectar, amritam. So he says, now I am more inquisitive. I want to know. So please explain to me this Adhyatma Yoga in detail. Adhyatma Yoga Agni, Adhyatma Yoga Grathitam Tavoktam Akhyahi Kautuhala Chetasome. Kautuhala, I am very eager, I am curious. And what is this Adhyatma Yoga? He indicated in the earlier chapter of how to realize the truth, self. He says, please explain in more detail. I am very curious. I want to know, and I have doubts. Then I will ask later. And he says that यदाह योगेश्वर दृश्यमानं क्रियाफलं सद्व्यवहारमूलं न ह्यञ्जसा तत्त्वविमर्शनाय भवानमुष्मिन् भ्रमते मनो मे. So he says here that the results of action are seen in this world, such as feeling fatigued and getting elated, getting sad. All these results, karma phala, one sees in this world. Now they are all based on the vyavahara, and now you have negated vyavahara, saying all this is jada vastu, this is not real. He said the position of the king. Today you have that position. I am in this palki, but all this is vyavahara only. This is not real. So he says, how can that be? So he says this does not. You said this does not constitute the highest truth, but then how is this negated? This is right now happening. Is vyavahara. So I am little bewildered also. So you please explain to me that what is this? So now when he says this, these questions are asked. Two questions are asked. One aspect he says is, you please tell about Adhyatma Yoga in detail, and also I am bewildered. Second aspect is that second question. That how can this not be real? Whole Vyavahara, how can it be negated? It's right now happening, transactional reality it is. So now Jada Bharat goes on to explain. So what does he say? He says that all this is actually made up of only earth, and earth is Jada, it is inert. See, a very nice shloka is fifth one. Ayam jano na machalan prithivyaam yapparthiva parthiva kasya hetoho tasyapi changryoradhi gulfa jangha januru madhyo rashirodharam saha. He says everything is made up of this earth alone. Give me a minute, somebody's at the door. So he says all this is made up of earth. Your body, my body, the palki, everything. So he says all this which is made up of earth alone, and earth is by itself jada vastu. That is point one. So he says this material body he gives different from the feet onwards. He says so. There is this earth on which the person is standing. So there are feet, then there are the ankles, then there's calf muscle, then there is the knee, then there are the thighs, then there is the upper part, the trunk, then the two shoulders and the head, and then on that this palki bearer is carrying the palki. On that palki you are sitting, but what is this body of the palki bearer made up of? What is the palki made up of? What is your body made up of? So he says, that the palki carrier, the palki, the king, they all are transformation of the earth only. There is modifications of the earth. And you think that you are the king of this, you know, Sauvira Raja. So Sauvira, he is the king of Sauvira and you are the ruler of all of these. Now that false pride, you are puffed up with that false pride. But your body also equally made up of five elements as the palki, as the inert things like palki, as well as the palki bearer. So you may have a pride, I am the king, I am the ruler, and he is a palki bearer. But material cause of both of them is the same. Is five elements. That is one aspect. Now, here he says that you are fatigued, you are blinded by this false identity that you are having, that you are the king. And he thought of himself as a great king and he is a whatever that kingly pride that he had, and that's why he insulted Jada Bharat. He says that you say that you have to do dharma. Now, for somebody who is the king, when the king has to do dharma, the king must be free from raga and dvesha and this attachment to the body to do dharma and to rule in a dharmic way. He very clearly says in this, seventh shloka, you see that. He says, Janasya goptasmi vikathamano nashobase vriddha sabhashu dhrishtaha. So he says that your rule is adharmic. You forcibly engage these innocent palki bearers without payment who are suffering. This proves that you are cruel and unkind. But out of false prestige, you think yourself to be a dharmic person, protector of the citizens and all that. So he not only was acting in kingly pride, but he also is not paying them. And the palki bearers are suffering. That's why that one fellow had run away. And in place of that one fellow who ran away, they caught Jada Bharat and they forced him. And he also accepted, okay, chalo, he didn't. He had, his mind was reveling in something higher. So he doesn't have fear. He's a king, what he can do. This is the fearlessness born from Atmagyan. Because no body identification. What will the king take away from him? No attachment to things, no identification with the body. Maximum what the king can do, behead him. This person is not afraid of death only. He is realized Atma, which is Ajar, Amar, Avinashi. So absolutely no fear. This is the sign of Brahmagyan also. And this is one of the qualities of a seeker also who walks the path of Brahmagyan. May not have realized yet, but the path, when one is walking, the path also will have fearlessness. Why? Because detachment. Vairagyameva abhayam. From vairagya comes dispassion. From vairagya comes fearlessness. From dispassion comes fearlessness. No attachment to anything. If one is walking on the way, not yet realized, but one has developed detachment, sufficient detachment is there. What fear? What we will lose something is not, it was never mine, so what will I lose? When body only is not mine, I am not this body, and this body belongs to five elements, it belongs to earth. It will go back to earth. It came from earth, it will go back to earth. One day that's what is going to happen. That clarity when one has and one lives with that feeling. If one continues to live with body identification, I am this, and pamper it and take so much of, I wouldn't say care, but just one goes on living in the body as the body and fulfill the demands of the body. One is not to accept the class or accept some time where one is reflecting, maybe one thinks I am not the body. Rest of the time one is living in the body, as the body, for the body. Then that fearlessness doesn't come because attachment is strong. And for the body, there are the 10 other attachments to things and people and objects and situations and all that. So then one lives in fear. Rahugana king, he has so much of body identification. And Jada Bharat, no body identification. Fearlessly saying, you are a cruel king, you are not doing dharma, you are not paying people, they are running away. And you call yourself dharmic and you are saying that I am a king and I have to do my duty and how can I not punish and all that. He showed him the mirror. Then again he comes back. See, please remember one point. When the Mahatmas like him speak, Jada Bharat, he is not insulting the king. He is showing him the mirror by telling him the truth, saying you are a dharmic, you are not paying, people are suffering. And in their suffering, you are rejoicing that I am the king. How are you even doing the duty of a king? The first duty of the king is to protect the praja, to do the welfare of the praja. So that is one. Now, then he goes on to say that, all these different bodies, somebody is a palki bearer, somebody is a king, but these are all different bodies. There are modifications of the earth and they exist only in name because the essence is the earth as far as material body is concerned. Like the gold bangle, gold ring, gold bracelet, gold anklet. Now, this bangle, bracelet, anklet, that is only a name of a particular form or particular design. What is the essence? Is the gold, the metal gold. If that gold is not there, it's useless. Whatever, where will they exist? Those are empty words. In the absence of gold, the bangle is no bangle. The bangle word is empty, is useless. It is. So same way here he says that these different bodies, somebody is a palki bearer, somebody is a king, and all that. Those are only empty names. The real crux is what? See, he starts with the earth because that is visible. Na? So he says this body is visible. So start from there, saying, are you even this? This is a modification of earth. This is not you. And all the beings are having that same modification of earth. Is the material cause is the same. So they arise from the earth, they disappear into the earth. So we are but dust and we will remain but dust. If you identify with the body, then it is dust only. Where's the difference? There is no difference. And what is the earth made up of? Now you see that ninth shloka. They have mentioned atom and subatomic particle that time. She says that evam niruktam kshiti shabda vrittam asannidhanat paramanavo ye. Paramanu. Anu means atom. Paramanu subatomic particle. Avidyaya manasa kalpitaste yesham samuhena krito visheshaha. He says, what is the earth made up of? Earth is made up of atoms. Atoms have subatomic particles also, and now these atoms, they will come together. How do you think that the atoms actually come together and connect? This fact, what is written here, is today scientifically proved. Do you know that no atom can touch another atom? Impossible it is. Because an atom is 99.999% empty space. In the center of the atom is a nucleus. In that there is proton, neutron, electron, which is 0.0001%. 13 zeros are there. That much atom is empty space. So around the atom is all empty space. So two atoms coming together is actually empty space only. There is no, the atoms don't touch each other at all. Swamiji, but we are feeling, I touch this, I touch that, the heat, cold, I feel all that. That is all illusory. Complete illusion. Do the Google research, you will find it is most amazing. And this they have said in Bhagavat, in the ninth shloka here. See what is written there. The finest atoms, as for the atoms by whose uh, concatenation the elements known by the name of earth has been brought into existence, they have been postulated by force of reason. This is only an imagination. Through ignorance, because of ignorance, there is no coming together actually possible. Scientifically today they have proved it. They knew this that time only, and they said this is Maya. It is appearing to us that okay, there is a touch and there is a earth and there are two objects touching each other. There is no actually there is no touch possible, and the atoms can't even come together. It's all imagination and Maya Kalpita, which from Vedant standpoint we say it is illusory, it cannot happen, and logical reasonings are given that that which is changeless, how can it produce a changing world? That which is infinite, how can it become finite? All that. And if it all it is appearing, it is a product of Maya. So that we say from Vedant standpoint. But today, from science standpoint also they have proved is that the atoms cannot even combine together. How they will combine together? The touch is not possible. They are not coming together. And until atoms don't come together, this proper form will not be formed. But Swamiji, we are seeing this form. That is because of ignorance. If you dissect and you see, there is nothing. It is empty. Even science says that or not. We think this is solid, tangible. This is empty, actually. We think this is not moving, but this is energy in motion. From which standpoint we see it is important. You go to the subatomic level and see. Go to atomic level and see. We are not able to see because of limitation of our senses. So here he says that the earth is made up of atoms. The atoms are also impermanent, and the atoms also coming together and forming something gross, tangible, solid is illusory. It has no real existence. He says that. Meaning relatively it appears real to us because of limitation of our senses. Otherwise it has no real existence. Earth is only a material cause. Bhagwan is the ultimate cause. Consciousness is the ultimate cause of everything. And that alone is actually what we think of earth as earth separate and material is from the consciousness standpoint does not exist. If at all we see it, it is also appearance of consciousness only. It is not Jadavastu. So depends on which standpoint we take. Whether we take earth standpoint, then it is Jada. You take consciousness standpoint, it is appearance of consciousness only. And from the highest standpoint, it does not even exist. Only consciousness is. There is no creation at all. That if somebody has understood, that's the highest level of Vedanta. Now, so Jada Bharat is giving this knowledge that this universe is created by this play of so many factors. Now you see that 10th shloka, he lists that. So he says that whatever these things are appearing to us as stout and lean and fat and dark and bright and all these, small or big or of the nature of cause, effect, animate, inanimate, this is all the product of Maya, and it is because of the gross elements, because of Swabhava, nature, because of predisposition, because of Kala, because of the three gunas, because of karma. These are the causes because of which this whole thing appears very real to us. But by themselves, all these are also illusory. So then how will the creation be real? So that's why he says here that the words are in this 10th, Dravya, Swabhava, Shayakala, Karma, Karma Namna, Jayaviha, Kritam, Dvitiyam. This is creating the duality. Now, all these, for us, they appear real or not. Time, karma, three gunas, swabhava, the five elements, the gross elements, they appear very tangible, real, and the interaction between all these makes the world appear very real to us. But where does all this disappear? In dream, there's a different world. In the deep sleep, none of this exists. Only in the waking state, this is there. And when is this there? When the mind is there. If the mind is not there, none of this will also be there. So then the mind is the reality. Mind also becomes dormant in deep sleep. Atma alone remains. That alone is the truth. What remains in all periods of time without changing. Mind goes through changes, world appears, disappears. So all that is not real. The more and more when we contemplate on this fact, the attachment to the world will reduce, because if something is not real, why am I even being so attached to that? So he gives this knowledge and he gives the knowledge of the non-dual truth. He says that this Advaita is free from any contamination, it is Vishuddha, and it is this knowledge of non-duality that gives liberation. It is the all-pervading Brahman, Paramatma, Bhagavan, and learned people call it as Vasudeva also. So remember, Bhagavatam directly speaks about Advaita. If somebody wants to twist it and say it is a Grantha of Advaita and going to some Loka and all that, that is their limitation of thinking. Here very clearly he says that Jnanam Vishuddham Paramartham Ekam Anantaram Twab Anantaram Twabahir Brahma Satyam. Brahma is a Satyam. Pratyak Prashantam Bhagavat Shabda Sangyam Yadvasudevam Kavayo Vadanti. That Brahman only is Vasudeva. Vasudeva is not some one person and some Vishnu Bhagwan who is in the Loka of Vaikuntha. That is again at a relative plane. Absolute truth, Vasudeva is Brahman, the one who is a consciousness residing in everything and in which everything resides, and who is beyond all this. That is the truth alone. So straight away he gave to Rahugana the absolute knowledge. Jada Bharat gave him this. And now how is that Vasudeva attained? That he goes on to explain. He says this can't be realized just by concentration of the mind or by yajna or by taking sannyas or following the rules of householder life or studying of the Vedas or performing austerities in water, fire, sun. He gives one powerful method. He says none of this by itself will lead you to realization. What will lead you to realization? He says without smearing one's body with the dust of the lotus feet of the great devotees, it is not possible. Meaning not that other sadhanas one should not do, but he says that you smear the body with the dust of the lotus feet of the devotees, the Mahatmas, the great devotees who have become one with Bhagavan. Such devotees, lotus feet, their dust you apply. Meaning, be absolutely humble. Do satsang with such Mahatmas. That will reduce the body identification and the ego and all this pride, I am a king and all that, because finally it is dust. We are earth in that context of the body. And the Mahatma has realized I am divine, I am one with the truth, and sees everyone also in the same way. The Bhakta doesn't see others as, Are, ye to bichare hain. Bhakta sees all of them are divine only. And Bhakta wants everybody to experience that oneness. Such Ananya Bhaktas, he says, take the dust of their lotus feet, apply on your forehead, meaning drop your abhimana and develop bhakti in their samsarga. In the company of such people, one will develop great devotion. Where there are great devotees, there is discussion of the Lord's qualities, forms, and pastimes. Such devotees, their company, we go to Mahatmas for that only. To ask about Bhagavan, to talk about Bhagavan, to learn about bhakti, to do sadhana, to find out challenges in sadhana and find solutions for it. But what do? Sometimes we go to the Mahatma and talk everything. My father is doing this, my son-in-law is doing this, how to come out of this, please help me. And we want solutions for our day-to-day problems. For that, enough psychiatrists are available. Go to them, talk to them, meet them, do whatever. Psychiatrist can give you solutions of that. Don't ask the Mahatma of psychiatric solutions, then you are not using the Mahatma's potential for that. Mahatma can liberate a jiva out of cycle of birth and death. Ask about that. Give you bhakti. Psychiatrist can't give bhakti. A psychiatrist can't help for getting out of cycle of birth and death. Don't make the Mahatma into a psychiatrist. Atma may help because of compassion, so that once if in some way the person is at least coming and satsang is happening, somewhere one will get associated, some seeds of knowledge will go inside, it will germinate at some point. But the what Bhagavatam is saying, go to such people because there the glory of Bhagwan is being explained, is being spoken about, sung about. If there is somebody who is going on glorifying oneself, that person is not even a Mahatma. Run away from that person. One has to glorify Bhagwan because that alone is the truth. What else is to be done? So here he says, go to such Mahatmas. Yatra Uttama Shloka Gunanuvadaha. There the glory of the Lord is being sung. That is the state. And there is no discussion on material subjects. Prastuyate Gramya Katha Vighataha. They don't talk about material subjects like politics and sociology and all this. That there are enough other experts. Now go and ask them. If something here and there one may even indicate to awaken some, the Hindus in the country, one may speak a few things. Because through that, at least they will come to the scripture and understand, Arey, I am asleep and what is being done. But that is not the main purpose. The main purpose is bhakti, jnana, seva, and realize the truth. So by constantly hearing these topics about Bhagwan, respectfully, even a person who wants to merge into Brahman abandons this idea, becomes attached to the service of Vasudeva. This is little extra glorification of Bhagavad Bhakti, saying one who wants to realize Brahma Gyan also by listening to Katha of Bhagwan, by glorifying, by the listening to the glory of Bhagwan, will say ki I don't want mukti, I want to just serve Bhagwan Vasudeva, I want to remember him in my heart and serve him who is manifesting in this world. Because this bhakti path. Jnana path, bhakti path ultimately will lead to the same realization what was said earlier, no? Brahman alone is, and that Brahman only is Vasudeva. It will finally come to that oneness only. But this is glorifying bhakti because for majority that is what will apply. Very, very few can apply Vedanta as a Jnana Marg because it's very subtle. So he says here, now when Rahugana has asked, that why are you mercifully giving this knowledge to me, an offender like me, that bhav is there in Rahugana's mind because he surrendered, he fell flat on his feet and all that. So Jada Bharat, he manages to tell him, that very spontaneously it just came out, saying that I was also a king in the past. I was Bharat Raja, then I was detached and I was doing my sadhana, then I got attached to the deer and then I got reborn as a deer. And then I realized what a blunder I made, and so now I am here in this life and I am not attached to anything. So I conceal myself, I don't mingle around and show any greatness or any such thing because I saw what happened when attachment arose in my mind. So he says that I wander about unnoticed because I don't want to get attached and have more company and people and all that. So I don't do this. By detachment from matter and attachment to the devotees, one gains the sword of knowledge by which one can cut this illusion. This illusory world is samsara. One will break. By hearing and speaking about Lord Hari, one revives the dormant Krishna bhav and attains oneness with the Supreme. So that's the last shloka on this, in this 12th chapter, that with that sword of the devotion that is there, one will break this attachments to this illusory world, and through the company of these Mahatmas, these devotees, one can experience this God consciousness by listening to their glory, the glory of Bhagwan Sri Hari. One reaches oneness with Hari, and that Hari only is Vasudeva, is Brahman. So now this Rahugana has been given this knowledge of Advaita also and Bhakti also. And Jada Bharat managed to tell him very spontaneously because he asked, ki, who are you? Are you a Brahmana? Are you Kapil Muni? Are you Narayan? Who are you? So he says, as a matter of fact, he doesn't boast about, that great King Bharat. I was that king in the earlier lives. Nothing. He said, I was King Bharat, and then I was detached, and then I got attached, and then I was reborn. Matter of fact. Why? Because for him it is over. The story is over. He's realized his whole thing is illusory. No attachment at all. Compared to King Bharat, who is this Rahugana? Nothing, nobody. He is only one king of this Sauvira Pradesha. Bharat Raja ruled the whole country. Now that Bharat Raja was a palki bearer of this Rahugana. Now imagine Rahugana listening to this. Suddenly he will be like, oh my God, who was he and who am I? And now he is this palki bearer. And how did I treat him? From even king standpoint, Bharat Raja was much more greater and than this Rahugana. Atmagyan standpoint obviously is realized truth, and here he is having kingly pride. But even as a Raja, Bharat Raja was something more, far more glorious. So let some more conversations will come that we will take up in our next class. Are you able to hear? Okay, 1 minute. Mangalarti Priya Pritamati Mangalati Mangalarti Priya Pritamati Mangalati Mangala Shanti Hasan Dasanaki Mangala Murali Mangala Arati Mangal Bani Hari Mangal Seva Sabu Sarjati Mangal Siru Chandrita Antopati Mangal Chabina Nule Atati Mangal Sarati Rang Angani Mangal Gaur Syam Viranga Kesi Mangal Ati Kati Yare Patati Mangal Chitam Nagar Nakoti Mangal
मंगल शोभा कमल में मंगल माधुरी मृदुत पैलकी मंगल वृंदावन मधुपति मंगल श्री रंगनाथपति मंगल मंगल चरण अरुण तरुवन मंगल करनी भगति हरिजन की मंगल सुगल प्रिया पावन की मंगल श्री राधा की मंगल आरती प्रिया प्रीतम की मंगल प्रीति मंगल आरती राधावर कृष्णचंद्र भगवान की जय। ओम न तत्र सूर्यो भाति न चंद्र तारकम् नीमा विद्युतो भान्ति कुतो यमग्निः तमेव भान्तमनुभाति सर्वम् तस्य भासा सर्वमिदं विभाति सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की।
ॐ पूर्णमदः पूर्णमिदं पूर्णात् पूर्णमुदच्यते पूर्णस्य पूर्णमादाय पूर्णमेवावशिष्यते। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्ति। हरिः ॐ श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः। हरिः ॐ।